Okay, hi Smith, how are you?
All good. How are you, Priya?
I'm also good. Welcome to my channel, and we are happy to have you. That you had spared some time for my audience. So, give us a
Thank you
brief
so much for
about your
having me.
CA journey. Yeah. So, how have your CA journey been all around, and where you had done your articleship and glimpse of your articleship experience? Just tell us about that.
For sure. Every 12th pass student, the family told me that CA can be a good way in commerce. And I think then I started with my CA journey in 2019. I had my CA foundation. I cleared it in the first attempt, but I did miss the rank by a few marks. So I still had that guilt.
Okay.
Then entered the COVID phase, the entire phase. But yeah, I still managed to clear my CA intermediate in the first attempt as well. Then I think after you clear your intermediate, then you have the articleship opportunities, choices, and all. And I was very clear from the very start that direct tax is something which I'm looking forward to. So yeah, then the entire interview cycle, I think every one of us like have gone through that the same
Hmm.
period of interviewing met at many places and then finding the relevant opportunities and then evaluating on the basis of that. So yeah, I got offers from a lot of other companies, but then I thought that BDO can be the right fit for me in terms of work environment and also in terms of work. So in BDO, I was in the direct taxation and corporate advisory department,
Okay.
which focuses mostly on the litigations and the assessment as well as the daily routine work which involves TDS, TCS, and various other stuff. So I joined in March 21, and
Okay.
it's been 1.5 years, and yeah, it's been an amazing experience. Like I did get to be a part of CIT appeals, assessment,
Hmm.
pending litigations, follow up with income tax department. It's more on the front end rather than making those previous teachers work. Even that is exciting, but still the work experience was amazing. And yeah, then I decided that as I have a keen interest in finance and industrial trading, so I'll kind of pursue it. Yeah.
So what's the basic thought which gives you like that you should do industrial training? Because as you know that there can be some consequences of that as well. I mean the studies and the things can get kind of disturbed due to that industrial training. So why had you choose like why you want to go for industrial training? What's the reason?
What I feel is that if you see industrial training, it's an opportunity which is right there given by ICI to everyone, and
Hmm.
this is something at a very early age. You see, because no one expects much from you, and as the
Right.
word mentioned, it's called training. So
Hmm.
you are being trained by experts or mentors in a particular field for 18 months. And obviously, articleship is important. I do recommend everyone to go for articleship with hold your heart.
Hmm.
But then at some point, if you feel that you have interest in the industry or you want to have a taste of it just before your CA
Hmm.
finals, why not? And if I talk about the entire thing of study leaves and stuff, if you plan it well, I think then you will be able to manage it as well. Because and
Correct.
you are a living example of the same.
Yeah,
So yeah, so it's
correct.
more of how you plan the thing. Yeah.
Okay. So, like, how did you apply for it, or how many companies you got interviewed, and why then you selected Nomura? And let us also know about what is Nomura is into, and please.
Perfect. So if I talk about how I started, so basically I knew since the very start that I don't have any godfathers or like people who are at big positions in the industry.
Hmm.
So one thing
Hmm.
which can only work for me is applying aggressively so that I have opportunities and options at the end. So I started way back low. For example, I started 5 months prior to my articleship, like my 18 months of articleship. People do tell that start a month back or like 2 months back, and like if you start earlier, then
Hmm.
your mail ID might get blocked or like HRs may get irritated. But what I feel is that I think that's all a life. If I can get in, then anyone
Hmm.
can. And what I felt is that even if they block my ID, I'll make another ID and I'll actively pursue my thing because I wanted to be very sure of like once I give my information and
Correct.
everything. So like for those
Yeah.
reasons, I started early only. So in April, I had started applying for the the opportunities at various. So one thing which I got to know that there are two ways to go about it. Like either you can go through references or you can mail
Hmm.
your IDs to various HRs and stuff.
HRs. Yeah.
So yeah, so I got to know that LinkedIn is the only open platform where you can approach anyone and anyone can help you there as well. But for that also, you would need an active persuasion, because when I started in April, everyone was like the people, because if you know the earlier industrial training period was for 12 months. So people who were having their CA finals in May won't use LinkedIn in April, right? So there was very less
Exactly.
chance of me getting active persuasion from there as well. But I started applying, and there is a 10% turnout ratio is what I feel. If you message 20, you'll get reply from 2. So don't be disappointed. And actively, I had nothing to lose for that matter, because I had no other options to. So I thought that why not actively? So now this sounds silly, but I had made an aim of connecting to at least 50 people every day, and kind of message. And this group of people will be from the industrial training domain, and would be either working as an industrial trainee, or like would have had an industrial training experience in the past. So they can help with the entire thing. So yeah, I had started message. So I made this aim of 50 people, and I believe I had messaged. I don't even have the count. Like I think it's gone above 400, 500, 600 maybe. Yeah, but then sooner or later you then start getting replies from people. People are very genuine. People do help you. Because one thing you should be clear about what you ask for. You can't just like beat around the bush and just
The
be
way,
anywhere.
the way
So
to ask someone is very important. People
exactly.
might ignore you because the way you're asking, you just say, asking, hi, I need your friends to your company. So that's not a
That
way.
can't work. Exactly.
Yeah, this
First, you have to
can't
just
work.
give a small intro about you in those 2, 3 lines, and what do you expect from them, and
Yes.
how you'll be grateful to them, because everyone wants someone who's happy at then after helping. Right? I think I'd even sent
Right.
sent messages to you, but I think you were busy with your CA final prep. I don't
Yeah.
know then. For those reasons, I
Maybe,
didn't get it. But yeah,
maybe.
so I
Yeah.
started with the thing. Yeah, people did start replying, so I started
Yeah.
mailing my resumes. People did start referring me as well. Initially, when I got calls from HR, they were like, "We are expecting someone who joins in June or after a month." I was like, "No, I'm there. Like, I have a lot of time, but I do need a confirmation from your side." So yeah, then the entire process started. I think I'd interviewed at 20 plus companies. I'm very proud to say that, because I think that made me better as soon as I like went for the real good interviews in the companies which I actually wanted to. So I what so no I, what I feel is that what people do is that when they feel that the particular company is not something which they would want to work for, they just say no for the interview. And I think that's a very wrong approach. Because
Yes.
with each and every interview, you do get fine about certain things. For example, the first question,
Correct.
tell me about yourself. Having told about myself in the 10 interviews, and now I've learned the entire thing. Now it comes with fluency,
Yes.
even though I haven't prepared about it.
So that
So
kind
yeah,
of
then the
had
entire thing
you had a
started.
practice of saying that if you got interviewed at a lot of
Exactly.
companies, and if you are
And
just
at the
going
end,
back to your dream companies, only one interview, then you might lose that thing
it might
and
not
lose the
happen. And at
chance.
the end, like I did have
Yeah.
a good basket of companies to choose from, and not
Yeah.
one or two companies which do actually select. So now after being selected, I had the opportunity to select the one which I want to work for. That is too big a
Correct.
thing, which
Yeah.
people don't realize. So yeah, my tip would be to just start as early as possible. 4 months, 5 months is a good period to start up, because you won't get good replies in a month. It will take 2 or 3 months to get through the entire process.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So what
and now about the experience
companies?
at
Hmm.
yeah, at my Nomura. So basically Nomura. Okay, so the parent company is a Japanese company. It's called Nomura Holdings. Now they
Hmm.
have a Nomura Services company in India, which is kind of like an affiliated company. It is spread. So if I talk about Nomura in general, it's a company which is spread across 30 countries, some 26,000 plus employees. It's a financial services company which mostly focuses on investment banking, wealth management, asset management, and I guess portfolio management, and all these various streams of finance. And
Hmm.
yeah, and as I was active and interested in finance, I wanted to apply for a company which is mostly into finance.
So on what role you have been hired? Like what they mention as a.
So okay, so the role which I've been hired for is corporate treasury, and which will involve
Okay.
a bit of which will involve a bit of portfolio management and equity management as well. But yeah, it's called corporate treasury for that matter. So it's in the finance team.
Okay, interesting, interesting. So what was the interview process for that Nomura and what rounds and how all it worked?
Mhm. So I think so the interview process was not well defined. I think like there are many of my friends who did have a few rounds. Like I had two rounds, to be honest, 2 or 3 rounds if I can say. Like I have
Okay.
some friends who are, because I was so early, so even they wanted to grind me a lot. because they wanted to see that how active I was and how willing I was to give it for the job. So I had
Okay.
3 rounds. So the first round was mostly like a manager round, which was based on like the current articleship experience in the direct tax
Okay.
department, because even they know that I won't know much about the domain which I'll be working for, because
Correct.
even I'm new to this. So they can only ask you questions about what you have done and what you know about the role. So they won't ask you much in detail about what exactly involved in the role, because for those reasons I'm here, right? I want to learn for that.
Correct.
So the first round was mostly based on that. Then the second round was kind of like okay, so in these companies we have the vice president. So like we have directors in normal companies, in the finance companies we have vice president. So I had a vice president round, which was also kind of like, okay, so that was a bit informal, but that did ask me some questions about Ind AS and like accounting standards as well.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that was mostly directed towards accounts part. And the third round was mostly like an onboarding round, which was the HR round, where they did ask me about some clarifications about the attempt or the leaves I'd be comfortable with, and about the stipend and the other normal procedures. So even that is around, because if you say no, then the entire thing goes back. So yeah.
Of course.
So these
Of
3
course.
rounds.
Okay. So what other companies you have been interviewed, and any specific questions, interview questions, interesting interview questions which one must know or one must, have a
Why not? Why not?
knowledge
So if I
about?
talk
Yeah.
about the other companies, so basically I had also given a few interviews in the FMCG part. So like I had interviewed at HUL and Nika. If I kind of remember okay, so in both I had applied for the finance domain only, the financial services team, the finance operations team. And the interesting questions, for example, at Nika, they did ask me about a complex situation where like the company is undergoing some loss or particular like that. Then like how would me being an industrial trainee contribute or be a part of the entire thing and help the company be strong in those times.
Okay.
And if I talk about HUL, one question which I can vividly remember is that they did ask me about the skills which I have apart from the artificial experience. So I think
Okay.
like yeah,
Kind of
and
extracurricular they are.
yeah, kind of like extracurricular, but they did, so that makes me come to the point that skills are really important these days, because everyone has clear CET intermediate and even they know that. So that's not
Yeah.
a point of
Agree.
question. It's more like what else apart from that. That was the thing. Apart from
Okay.
that, I've also given interviews for DBS, which is
Okay.
Democratic Bank of Singapore, and JPMorgan and Chase, both companies. So I'm kind of clubbing them both because they both had similar questions. So in JPMorgan and Chase, as I had mentioned a lot about the personal branding and about my LinkedIn and various other stuff. So we did have a 10-minute discussion about why I'm doing personal branding and like why this right now in the articleship phase, and like how do I manage my time into that. And so that makes me come to the point that they are actually interested in all these things as well. So they're
Okay.
not, because they know that you because everyone has done articleship somewhere, so you do have practical experience. So
Correct.
these things count and make you stand out from the rest. Because if you don't have any ranks, like I didn't have any until now, finals, I finger crossed for that. So if I talk about the 2 levels, so these things actually make you stand out apart from the crowd. That's what
right.
I feel. Yeah, these are a few experiences, and I think there are various other companies as well. But yeah, I think the general pattern just remains the same.
Okay, okay. And if you can disclose a bit about the study leave, how many study leaves you're getting, and stipend range or something like that. And one more thing about the MCS and advanced ITT. I mean, are they giving you some extra leave, or how it is there?
Okay, so I'll start with the advanced ITT and the MCS leave question. So basically, I did have a talk with a few industrial trainees, and all what I knew about is that they are very hesitant to give leaves. Some companies do give
Okay.
leaves, but they are hesitant about it. So I planned it earlier only. So as soon as I completed a year of my articleship, I did my GNCS, and after a month, I
Okay.
did my advanced ITT as well. So I got it done earlier only. But to answer your question, they do give, but I'm not really sure of, because at Nomura the first question which I was asked was about advanced ITT and GNCS only, and I did say I did it, and that might have placed me up above the people who are still wanting to do it, or like who are still not sure about when they will do it. And
So
to
they'll
answer your
prefer
question of
people who
yeah,
had completed then. Yeah,
yes,
that's
why not?
fine.
And even I would tell you to do that, because after a year of articleship, you don't have much workload. So kind of get
Yeah.
done with it and do have that experience. Like, because when I did my GMCS, there were people who were giving finals in November 22. So I was the only one who was from November 23. So that
Okay,
was
okay.
quite different, and that was a different
Yeah.
experience because you're the youngest in the entire group, and you do get
Group.
a lot of other opportunities as well. Like
Yeah.
whenever there's something, they'd be like, okay, so as you're the youngest, now you have to speak. I'm like, I'm happy to do that. It's more like that.
Okay.
And if I talk about the leaves, normally 3 to 4 months is the leaves which are given here. 5 months is in the
Okay.
articleship, so you can't expect 5 months here.
No, yeah,
At
of
Nomura, I've
course.
been given 3 months. And
Okay.
4 months is also somewhere like I've seen people like they do have 4 months leaves at various companies. I don't want to name a few because the leaves policies do change with
Four
time, but
four months
three to
will be
four
the
months is what you can
rarest,
expect.
I think. 4 months will
Yeah,
be the
yeah, it's quite
rarest.
rare. And even that
Yeah.
is based on certain conditions about you completing a particular amount of
Yeah.
work and you working on weekends and all that. I think that's quite dependent on about how you work. And if
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
talk about the pay range, I can't actually disclose the amount, but if I say it's 30 plus or 35 plus to be honest.
Hmm.
And to be and I
Okay.
what I can say that stipend shouldn't be a base for you to choose a particular domain or a particular
Hmm.
company,
Hmm.
because if you see this is a training phase, okay, so you're actually getting paid to get trained if you see that way. And this is obviously quite more than the articleship stipend which you would be earning. And I think clearing CA intermediate, okay, clearing CA final in the first attempt with a good rank should be important for you all. Like if you're aiming for a rank or clearing it in
Hmm.
the first attempt, because once you do that, automatically
Yeah.
the the
Opportunities
monetary
will
amount
come to you. Yeah.
will come to you.
Yeah.
So the training
Exactly.
should be important. But obviously, if you have two offers which are on a similar line, then
Ah.
then the stipend can be a point to think about. Otherwise, I think
Hmm.
it all works the same.
And any specific tips you want to give on resume, like because first shortlisting is the resume. Resume is your face, we can say. So any tips
Definitely.
on that?
Firstly, a one-page resume, not two-page.
Correct.
No one wants to
Exactly.
go through that second page. And
Hmm.
if I like what I've seen, like all of my friends also who are applying for industry training, they do have their resumes with their work experience, which is ranging half a page or something like that. I
Okay.
know, see, because you obviously you will be actually proud of what you have done, but
Hmm.
not all has to be mentioned there. Only the key highlights can be mentioned there because even they know. Because for example, if I talk about taxation, 15 CA, 15 CB, and the daily tax things are like quite common in every firm. So you might not include that. You might include something
Hmm.
extraordinary
Different.
or spectacular which you
Extraordinary.
have worked for. So that can be a standout point. Apart from that,
Hmm.
extracurricular should also be there in your resume. So and apart from your like cleared CA intermediate and like foundation, you can have a work experience. Then the extracurricular part should be there,
Yeah.
and the extracurricular achievements should be recent, not
Hmm.
like an award which you achieved in
Full
your first
time.
standard or second standard, because
Okay.
people do mention that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be quite
Agree.
recent, and that should actually showcase your personality in some way. And lastly, if I talk about
Correct.
one thing, like when they kind of mention hobbies, don't
Hmm.
mention singing, dancing, or something like that. You can be very particular about it. For
Specific.
example,
Yeah.
is that classical singing or like
Ah. Classical
hip hop
dancing or
dancing or
kind of.
something like
Yeah.
that. So you can be actually particular about it. For example, if I mention about reading, so you can mention reading fiction or reading non-fiction. So
That's right.
these three
So I
tips
think.
are in my mind.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I think these all questions I think I'll get covered here, and
for sure.
thank you for your wonderful explanations and for your time for being there on
Thank you
this
so much,
session.
Priya.
And
And you are an
I
inspiration
hope
for
this
all of us.
session.
We
Thanks
will
a
be
lot.
working to
Thanks a
achieve what
lot.
you have achieved.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks a lot, and I think this will help a lot to my audience as well. And thanks, a
I
very
think
big thanks to you for your time.
lastly, before going, I'll just share 3 things which I felt is something which people should know. I think
Okay.
before they apply. Firstly, don't get upset. You will face a
Hmm.
lot of rejections, like because it's quite
That's
common
the
to not
part
go
and
through
parcel of applying, that you'll get
exactly.
rejection.
So don't stop
Yeah,
applying. Exactly, because if I wouldn't have applied at so many places, I wouldn't have got offers, and I wouldn't have
yeah,
my choice in the thing.
correct.
Secondly, basic questions like uh, tell me a brief about yourself, or just give me a run through your resume, can be rehearsed in advance as well. Like you can just see in the mirror and you can just talk about it in a minute or so, because at that point you don't actually accumulate everything. You just cover the
Yes.
recent part or something which is there in your memory. You
Hmm.
just cover that. And thirdly, like in the last, they do ask you a question about asking a question to them. Don't say no. Say yes and
Yeah.
ask them something. For example, what
Yes.
I did, I asked them that what I will learn in those 18 months.
Hmm.
So because I'm here to learn as well, right? Because obviously I'd be working for them, but even I want to learn something. So don't miss out on all those opportunities. Or you can ask something as basic as, how is your experience been in this company? Obviously, that
That's
answer is
yeah.
quite expected. It has to be good.
I
But still,
also feel
I think
that
that
the
question works.
last question should be there. It cannot be no, because you
Yes,
can anyways make the interviewer feel that you are interested in that organization.
exactly.
You can ask any question. You can just ask about the organization, about that person's experience, about your learnings, but there should
Mhm.
be a question
And
there.
two
So
more
I
things, like
also feel that
whenever
the same
you don't actually know an answer, say I cannot recollect
thing.
it at the
Recollect
moment.
exactly.
That sounds more professional than saying no,
Be
I don't
honest
remember.
and be genuine. If we
Exactly.
try to just roll on the question again and again,
That don't work at a point.
that don't work. Yeah, that don't work.
And
They'll
lastly, your
identify
confidence
you.
is the key.
They'll,
Like, all what
of
works is
course, yeah,
confidence. Because even though you
confidence.
answer two questions or you don't answer them, if you're confident enough and if you tell them that you are someone, like I am someone you are looking for, you will make it through.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think
that's
that's all I have to share. And I hope this does help all your viewers and your audience. And I wish
yeah.
everyone all
It
the
will
best.
be helpful for a lot of people. And thank you for your time to be here
Thank
on
you
this
so much,
session.
Priya.
Yeah.